Hey everyone, welcome to Level Up with Lilit. I have a special guest today. This is one of my favorite relationships because I get to nerd out on audit and tax conversations despite being CEO of a tech company. So I have Jason Melillo. He is the CEO of KROST CPAs. He has a lot of experience in consulting related to tax and audit and other parts of the business, and we get the pleasure of being a client of theirs as well, which, you know, once in a while, it's nice to sit down and open up the books and have those nerd out conversations and figure out what the rest of the plan is for the company. So Jason's been very important in that aspect of our conversations, and I would love for him to introduce himself, maybe talk about your past and how you got to here, and then we can go from there.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me here today. This is something that sounded like a lot of fun. We'll hopefully have listeners that are awake by the time we're finished talking and nerding out on accounting. We'll try and keep it to a level that's maybe interesting to people outside of the CPA world. But sure, I've been in the accounting profession for about, I don't know, close to 30 years, and didn't necessarily think I was going to be a CPA when I started out, and it was one of those things that just kind of happened, and I realized that being in this profession allows you to do a lot of different things without having to do the same thing twice in a day a lot of times. And it appealed to me to be able to work with different companies, different size companies, companies that were at different stages of their growth cycle, people who had different goals and objectives, some people that wanted to grow their company and sell it, some people that wanted to transition their company to the next generation, and whether people were trying to add new locations or get bank financing. There's so many different things that we get to do in our day-to-day work life that made it interesting and fun for me. And so that was what kind of kept me in the profession, is what drew me into the profession and what kept me in the profession. And then the relationships that we build with people like you, and the opportunity to get to know people on a personal level, and just you spend a lot of time over a number of years working with someone and making friends, and that for me is a real bonus.
Yeah, it definitely makes the tough financial conversations much easier with the relationship basis.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you find when you're talking to clients, especially new ones, that something they're always missing, something that, usually when somebody's starting a company, no matter what phase of the company is, once they're ready for that big tax planning or that big audit, you find yourself giving them recommendations as well. Like, what is your favorite recommendation to give, or something that you see a lot of companies missing from a founder level?
Well, I think first and foremost is the plan. A lot of people start a business with an idea of, this is an idea I have, this is something I want to accomplish, but they don't necessarily have a really strong foundational business plan and where they want to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
They may have an idea of, well, I just want to get the doors open and hire some people and start, produce a product. But what do they want to do after that? And where do we want to go? Where do we want to go? We need goals. We need to have a direction that we're headed, and then have way stations along the way where we're benchmarking and
those fun
checking
milestones, right?
Yeah, checking in and making sure that we're where we're supposed to be. And so I think first and foremost, that's something that people don't necessarily take seriously enough, is that business plan, that roadmap that's going to take them where they want to go. And that's one of the first conversations that I'll have with somebody is, well, what are your goals? What do you want to accomplish? What are you striving for? And that helps us to understand how we can do our job to help them get there. So obviously, anytime we can add economic value to a company at the beginning of a relationship is a good place for us to be, proves our worth. So that's one of the things that we're always trying to do. But I think helping people to understand that really we want to be their partner. We want to be that person that you call us and bounce ideas off of us to say, here's something that we're trying to accomplish. How can you help us get there? What can you bring to the equation, or what relationships do you have that you might be able to bring in to introduce to us that's going to help us get where we want to go.
Yeah. And I know the company itself, over the last few years that we've known each other, the company has grown significantly. Started off big when we met, but you guys have so many different divisions, from tax and audit and individual planning and R&D, which is my favorite topic. But how do you find yourself introducing all of these different aspects to clients? Let's say they just need tax services, and then eventually they're going to need all of these things. But do you guys have a plan as to how you're introducing all of these sectors without scaring them? Because it's not an easy world out there.
Yeah, I think strategically it does make sense first to build a relationship. We have to trust each other first to understand what's important to you. Once I understand that and there's a mutual trust, like any relationship, there has to be trust. And so once that trust exists, it's much easier to introduce new ideas or concepts into the relationship so that anyone understands we're here to help. We're not here to sell something more to somebody. We're here to help solve problems. And sometimes solving those problems puts money in their pocket. Sometimes it helps them to be able to make that hire or to get that loan that they're trying to buy that equipment that they need, to buy that building, whatever the plan is that they need. And we don't want to rush in and make a suggestion of here's 20 things that someone can do, because that can be very overwhelming. So, we always start with, what's your goal? What do you really want? And we start with that. And then once we identify how do we solve that problem, then we can start looking at other areas where we can add value. And I think that's the way any relationship like this should be, in that, as long as we're focused on you and what's important to you, then you're going to understand that if we introduce something else along the way, that we're concerned about you and your interests.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've definitely seen all of that. We appreciate that. So tell me this. When I was, back in the day in the Big Four, it was a very in-person environment, and then there was a lot of hires, and everybody goes up at the same time, and, there's a 2-year and a 5-year and a 10-year mark. How has all of this changed after COVID nowadays with technology evolving? Do you see any changes?
Oh, for sure there's changes. And it's a challenge for everybody in business today. How do we engage with people? How do we make sure that they're getting, on the employer-employee relationship, how are they getting what they need in the relationship? We as employers are always going to figure out, how do we solve our business problems to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our clients and customers. Because if we don't do that, we're not going to have any clients and customers. But at the same time, we have to have people to deliver those services. And so it's the squeeze between making sure that we're taking care of what needs to be taken care of on the customer service side, and also making sure that we're taking care of on the employee engagement side. Means that we're spending a lot more time to try and make sure what used to be easy, what used to just happen organically. Hey, let's get lunch. We've got a meeting scheduled. We plan things. Now it's more purposeful, especially the last several years, since 2020. We worked very hard, and I say we, the industry, business in general, worked hard to have that engagement with people and planned events. Brought in food to try and get people into the office, to give them reasons to be in the office. I started something about a year ago called Power Skills. And essentially I thought, how do we add some value to the relationship with our younger staff that gives them something that they don't have, that gives them a reason to be in the office, to give them something that helps them on their career path. And so the Power Skills is kind of a monthly in-person training that we do. We sometimes might bring in an outside person to do the training, but generally we'll do it internally. It's a development opportunity for someone that's doing the training, as well as for the young people that are learning. So we've done networking, we've done health and wellness, we've done personal branding, business development. Leadership and accountability is what we're doing next month. So we're trying to do things that maybe when people get out of school and they don't have all the skills that they might need for their professional career, to give them some opportunities for not only engagement but for career development. And I think that's been a good way to add to the relationship and the engagement, and hopefully get people excited to be in the office and be around each other.
Yeah. Speaking of schools, do you guys recruit directly out of universities now?
We do.
Very nice.
So,
Any specific ones?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you that we do a lot of recruiting out of Cal Poly, Cal State Northridge, USC, Cal State Long Beach. I would say that we probably recruit the most out of Cal State Northridge.
Okay.
So great programs all, and I think that I have found that some of the best people that we get in our profession are the people who have worked their way through school. Primarily, they demonstrate that what they're willing to do to enhance their career and grow their career, and that work ethic. I've just found that in the programs that we work within, Cal State Northridge seems to produce a lot of those kids that are really hardworking and super smart and really want to progress. Not to say that we don't find those people everywhere, but I just think that kind of bootstrap mentality is something that works really well in our industry.
I like that. So I've also noticed that your employee retention is really high. Like, I'm still talking to the same people that I met 5-6 years ago, and they've stayed on the account. And even if they haven't, they have an amazing way of just retaining relationship with their clients or prior clients. Even we love spending time with them. So obviously, whatever you're doing in the office remotely, whatever you've implemented is definitely working. How do you compare that to competitors out there?
I think all of the people in our industry work really hard to identify good candidates that have the values that are consistent with the values of the firm. And I think if we do a good job of that, then that's not a reason that people would leave. And I think that a lot of times that is where there's a misfit or a mismatch on values, where things can go wrong. And so we try and get that right up front. We try and make sure that we're clear on what our values are, and then how that matches up with what the values are of the individual people coming through the firm.
Yeah. Have you guys implemented, software that helps prioritize or make the job easier from an internal perspective in the past few years?
Sure. We've invested a great deal in trying to streamline processes, developing software internally that gets different software solutions that we use to talk to each other. I think that brings up a whole new topic of AI and how that comes into the equation for people in our profession, and understanding the parameters, how and when we should use that, and putting some guardrails around the use of artificial intelligence. It certainly has its place. There's going to be best practices. We have a committee that meets monthly to talk about how we should be using it, and I think that the profession in general is getting its arms around AI. Probably the world in general is a better response to that. But we're all looking at that, and we all understand that it is going to be an iterative process that's moving quickly, and that can be exciting, but it also can be a little bit scary.
I agree. I think most people don't associate AI and taxes together, and considering that this is a very service-based industry, you also want to be careful how much technology you introduce to clients all of a sudden, right? Because they're just so used to having that conversation, looking at those spreadsheets, printing it out, jotting on the lines, on the sidelines, and brainstorming. And so when you introduce technology, it can be a little bit scary, because financials are already difficult to understand, so let alone.
Well, I think that consultative process is always going to exist.
Yeah.
We're always going to need people that can help interpret information, what it's telling us. We may be able to produce information a lot easier today than we could 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. And, in another year or two, it's going to be even easier still. But understanding what that information is telling us, you know, any one of us that are complete novices when it comes to maybe riding on an airplane, we can sit in the cockpit of an airplane and there's all that information in there, but we don't know what to do with it if we don't have that expertise. So I think that it's important for people to understand that we'll always need that role. We're always going to need the role of someone to interpret the information that we have in front of us.
I like that. So, in terms of your life, you're managing so much and so many departments as CEO of the company, and you have triplets and another one, you have 4 kids and they're in college. I understand. How did you get here with, life and
with a lot of help? With a lot of help. I've been fortunate to be surrounded by wonderful people. At home, I have an amazing wife who is incredible and has run our household and done an amazing job with our kids. So that's a partnership. We work together at home to do our best to raise our family. At work, I've been fortunate to work with amazing people, and the opportunity that I'm in now was because of all the people that were ahead of me, that allowed me the opportunity to grow into the position that I'm in, that mentored me, that trained me, and gave me the opportunity to learn.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've instilled some of those values in the company as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of our culture, and I think if you have a great foundation to start with, it's pretty easy to keep it going. The idea is just not to mess it up.
Yeah, sounds good. I don't mean to get too technical on the credit side. I know it's a really big discussion nowadays. Things are happening everywhere. R&D credit aside, that's been around for a long time with some regulatory changes. But are you hearing all of these credits that people can now buy and sell?
Yes.
And it's such a for me too, it's such a complicated topic. I hear it and it makes sense for 5 seconds, and all of a sudden it just disappears from my head.
Yeah, so it's funny, we had a conversation about this today. It's coming. There's some potential marketplaces for these credits. We're actually talking about creating one, and the biggest challenge will be matching up the supply of the credits with the demand of the buyers of credits, and certainly those people who have passive income or C corporations are primarily the beneficiaries of being able to buy credits. Organizations that maybe receive solar or energy-based credits that can't use the credits. So if you think about real estate investment trusts and people like that, that's going to be the marketplace for the supply. And then high net worth individuals with large passive income will be the consumers. Certainly the Fortune 500 are going to be consumers. And, as part of this conversation we're having today, I imagine that the appetite that the Fortune 500 have for these credits, they could probably buy up the whole market. The opportunity will be in that some smaller producers of credits will be too small for the Fortune 500 to be interested in buying $100,000 worth of credits.
Right.
They're going to want to buy $50 million or $100 million worth of credits at a time. So for the middle market or small market taxpayer, that will make it more possible for them to participate in the purchase of credit. So for the average taxpayer that's a W-2 employee, not something that it really will apply to.
Right.
But those ultra high net worth folks, family offices, middle market companies that are C corporations that pay a lot of tax will potentially be able to participate in that. And so what that looks like is maybe a 5 or a 10% discount on the purchase of a credit. So paying 90 cents to offset $1 worth of tax, which is significant. If you're paying a lot in tax, you can make a pretty good transaction.
It's a one-time purchase opportunity, right?
Well, I mean, it could be each year you could go back and buy more credits to offset your tax for the following year.
Got it. Okay. And do you find that the structure of the company, whether it's a C or an LLC or an S, does that actually make an impact on what type of a structure can purchase the credit?
Yes. So it's either at the individual level or it's at the C corp level. It really would not apply because the pass-through entity is like an LLC or an S corp. And sorry, people, we're now starting to geek out on really
I
technical
told you
stuff.
we're going to nerd out
Yeah.
on this.
Those are passed through, and those taxes are paid at the individual level. So that would mean then that the buyer of the credit would have to be an individual instead of the LLC or
Right.
the S corp itself.
Yeah. See, this is proof that it doesn't matter if you're a CPA, like you constantly have to be on top of it, learning, and the CPA credits don't really, complete the learning experience of everything that happens over a 1 year or 2 year period. So, what tools are you guys using to keep everybody up to date on these things?
So, we have a variety of learning programs that
Yeah.
for continuing professional education, we're required to have 80 hours every 2 years. But I think on average, most CPAs get way more than that just because keeping up with the latest information that's coming out of Washington, D.C. on new tax laws that are passed. And, the last several years, we really only get about one bill a year that has tax legislation in it just because it's so hard to pass laws these days at the federal level. But I think that, we have people with a variety of interests. We have within our organizational structure, different committees that are specialized in different areas. So those people are constantly looking for what impact there might be as it relates to legislative or compliance related changes or just market changes around something that might impact a particular area or enterprise.
Okay. Well, that's good. It's one bill at a time is easy to digest.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we have structure around that where people can go out and seek out areas that they're interested in that, maybe it's international taxation, what's
Right.
going on there. And so they have access to a large pool of resources that they can, dip into and learn. And then we go to a lot of conferences, whether it's through the AICPA, California Society of CPAs, or any number of other organizations that meet throughout the year to talk about new emerging issues, best practices, and so forth.
Nice. Okay. Aside from software, because I know you guys deal with software, what other industries do you mostly operate on?
A lot of real estate, a lot of manufacturing, technology, as you mentioned, hospitality, service industries. We get. I think most larger firms have a pretty big cross section because the more clients you have, the more services you need to offer in order to reach the marketplace. So
Yeah. So when you're not instilling values in the company, coming up with processes, dealing with taxes and audits and consulting and planning, what do you do for fun, Jason?
Well, I like to play golf. I like to be outdoors. I like to spend time, whether it's hiking or walking or biking down at the beach. Spend time with friends, family. Family, like I said, is pretty important. So anytime I can get with the family, I like to do that. I like to travel. I'm a volunteer board member on a couple of nonprofit organizations. I've been involved in the Tournament of Roses for 30 plus years and actually will be president in 2030. So don't make plans for New Year's Day 2030.
Okay. Noted. Cool. Well, I'm going to thank you for coming, but I usually end the podcast with a riddle. But considering my guest, I'm actually going to end it with a math question. You can't answer it live, so we'll answer it offline.
Okay.
Because I like the viewers to also answer it. So my math question is, what is 17 divided by half? And before anybody answers, I'm going to say thank you, Jason, again for being my guest today. And thank you for watching Level Up with Lilit.
Well, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Sounds good. Thank you.